I always had that approach. I hated audition. I always felt it was a tedious process. I didn't like the room. Sometimes I always felt people had this preconceived notion about me, and it would get in my fucking head. And I was like, scrap that. This is a job. I'm going to work, and I just roll them out. I love it. Just it's like you're acting for free. It's the best advice I ever got.
How old were you when you got into it? Young.
Yeah, it was. I think I was 14 for a Bronx Tale. It was an open call, and I remember going in with a bunch of kids because I'm from Arthur Avenue. I grew up on 187th Street in Prospect.
That's a good neighborhood.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yep. And I remember all the kids, everybody was going, I mean, I really didn't care about it. I wanted to be a ball player. All I cared about was playing softball, baseball, you name it. And I went in for a read, and I kept getting called back. And then, I mean, Joe, you had to see these lines. People were coming in from Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, everywhere. Were coming to the Playhouse that was on Arthur Avenue. And it just dwindled. And I wind up getting the part. One day of work, principal role, got in the union. My mom made me join the union in case if it's something I ever needed. God bless her, And then it wasn't a few years later where I did this independent movie called Kiss Me Guido, which was like this underground hit that Paramount picked up and distributed, and that's how I got an agent. But then, it was casting calls going in, and just a grind, man. Just a grind.
I still remember you on an episode of Law and Order.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With Glennie Briscoe, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Stolen stereos or some shit.
I didn't even have an agent at that time. Like those gigs, I didn't have, they would just, I guess they would have a list. And they would call people. And I remember going to those auditions. They were like cattle calls. 20 people, 15 people. You would have to wait like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. All the New York shows. And I always get, you never were on The Sopranos. And I never. How was The Sopranos movie?
It was great. It was something I was looking forward to because I always wanted to work with David Chase.
Right.
Comedically speaking, I hit my goals. I got to work with Harold Ramis, analyze this too. Not the best movie in the world, but for me, I got to work with Harold Ramis, one of the greatest comedy minds. And we talked, and he gave me some advice, and I ran with it. And with it's so weird what you take from different directors. Right. There's a well-known comedy director in Hollywood that does a lot of shows for CBS. I've worked 3 times with the guy. I've never gotten nothing from the guy. Like I didn't learn anything. I think the most I learned from was like Sam Raimi was very good to work with. When I did a movie for David Spade, the director spoke to me for a little while, even though it was a line. He taught me how to deliver it a different way.
Right.
And it was great. And then
who did
I
the
did my
Longest
20.
Yard?
Yeah. And then The Longest Yard, Adam lets you do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
God bless him. When it came to me, he was like, just do whatever you want to do. So I had him and Chris Rock feeding me lines off. Like the camera was on me, but they're feeding me shit, giggling.
You were very good in that film.
Thank you. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just looking at Nick Turturro and looking at Adam and looking at Buffalo Bill Blumenrich, the guy from Buffalo does a bunch of movies. I looked at the real actors in that movie, and I just tried to copycat them. Burt Reynolds. That's all I did. That was my first more than 3 days on a movie.
Right.
Everything up to that was 3 days, 4 days. I would get the scene with the credits rolling through it in the beginning. This was the first time I had leeway.
Mm-hmm.
And the only negative thing about that movie was that there was like two camps. There was the Stevens camp, Siegel, the guy who directed it,
Right.
and there was the Adam Sandler camp. So you didn't know who was really talking to you. So I would get direction from the director, and then Adam would tell me something different.
Uh-huh.
So I would do 3 or 4 takes and make it work, but I didn't know what I was doing that first day or that second day. And I got Tracy Morgan to the left of me. I got Chris Rock to the
you
life
had
of me.
everybody in that movie.
I had everybody.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from Adam. I learned a lot from the director. But I always felt I love learning. I love learning something. I like when a director says, do this, when you learn something from it. With David Chase, here's the funny story. I went on there with my comedy bullshit, and he shut it down the first day.
Wow. Shut it down. And why? I mean,
he didn't shut it down. One of the guys on the set came over and he goes, stick to your lines.
Oh, so you couldn't really ad-lib too much.
No ad-libbing, which I'm not used to. It's always your line, and then I add something, and it works. This was the first time I was told this is how we do it, and it's a reason. And when I did it the first day, I was like, now I get why he's David Chase.
Right.
And it was that quick. Like I went back to my room and I started rewatching episodes, and now I understood how he worked. Why he used heat.
You're gonna come, Joe. I mean, you're gonna come across that. The more you wind up doing television, the more film you do, you're gonna come across that. There are certain directors or writers that it's what they put on the page and that's what they want. And then like I worked with Judd Apatow over the last summer, and it was like a shooting gallery of lines. And it's try this, try that, and then I've been on other things where it's every punctuation, everything. Oh, you got to, it's exactly what's on the page.